Welcome to tonight's AMCA live interview, and I'm delighted to say that our guest tonight is Mr. Steve Harvey, the General Manager of the AMCA. So without further ado, let's bring Steve onto the screen.
Hi Mike, hi everyone. You all doing
Right,
well
Steve?
tonight? Yeah, good, thanks Mike, thanks for having me on.
Okay, it's great. Okay, I'm right. So obviously, son of a famous motocross rider, both at home and abroad, and somebody who's obviously still involved at the top level of the sport. So obviously, you had no choice probably which route you took, and you were always destined to be involved in motocross. Is that correct?
Yeah, first memories of pretty much, it's probably anyone's dad who's raced really. It's just been dragged around and motocross tracks at the weekend, and certainly with what my dad was doing when he was racing, racing abroad. Spent a lot of time in France, when he used to go off in summer racing internationals, and some of my earliest memories of being in France and just being, I think, and I kind of wish I could remember more really, because I think, it was in the early 80s and probably in the heyday of the sport really in this country, and it was it was great. It was just a great upbringing, and seeing, being at the races at the weekend, it was just brilliant.
Okay, can you remember sort of what age you went to your first event? Or
it would have been before I can remember really, to be honest with you, but it's I remember, like, Graham Norris, Dave Thorpe, all them guys, and it's Willie Simpson when he was riding, and it just, there's so many people you have snippets of things you can remember, and it's not just that as well. You can remember like weird tracks, and God knows where they were. You just remember really small snippets of stuff, and it's a bit frustrating sometimes. You kind of wish you could just rewind everything and think, oh, well, that was, and went through so many cool things, and it was just it was nice really. It was good.
Okay, so have you always been involved in motorsport or motocross then?
Pretty much really, from spectating with my dad, and then when as you got older, I when Dave Smith, he was pretty much what's the word really, kind of like a rider agent, and he would enter people into events abroad, and I did that whilst I was still at school, and did that as Dave was coming down from that, and then kind of progressed into that really, and then from that I did I remember I was assistant secretary, I think, on the first triple header, assistant jury secretary, sorry, in the first triple header at Foxhills, and that was when I was very young, and that was Dave Smith was, again, he was jury secretary, and that was a very good experience, for someone who was so young and being involved in that, and then from there really I kind of progressed into doing more stuff. When John Hellam started to run the Supercross in the UK, I was secretary, rider secretary for that. So I remember dealing with so many folks, and I remember Adam Chatfield, he obviously rode AMCA this year. I think he did it on 65s and stuff. So he's seen people like that grow up. And then from that, when John Hellam and Ken Winsally, they launched what everyone grew to know as the KWS. I worked alongside there at the events there, and then I got approached by the AMCA to go and work at the AMCA in 2002 now, and I've been there ever since.
Okay, obviously you've taken over from Suzanne. You're now general manager. You probably took over in probably one of the worst years you could possibly choose, really.
Yeah.
But putting that to one side, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going. I think you nailed it on the head, really. It's just, I don't think. Well, I'd like to think we'll never go through anything like this ever again. It's certainly been new. Stuff's been new, and I didn't think I'd ever say that really after being there for 18 years. But stuff's been challenging, and trying to find a way out of it, and what we're going to do. And a lot of work went on behind the scenes from when we went into lockdown to enabling us to get up and running in July, and it was a constant keeping your eye on the news, see what's happening, how's this going to impact on us, plotting a path out of that, and trying to make you've got to have the events that that are safe, and then dealing with councils as and when that came up. And it was it's been the variety in the work has been crazy this year, really. But hopefully moving into 2021 with the vaccine on the horizon, things can start to settle down and we can resume some kind of normality with everything.
Okay, right. Obviously, the AMCA, the art of the AMCA, the foundation of the AMCA is the club rider.
Yeah.
That's why it was built on. That's the foundation. Going back to, obviously, it's no point looking at 2020. If you go back to 2019, what were the entry levels like in 2019? If you, as far as you can remember, were they at the level you sort of thought they would be, or lower?
They were very similar to 2018. For entry levels and license numbers, and it was kind of tracking, really. I think that there's guys out there and they're riding bikes. You just have to look at practice tracks and all that kind of thing. That they're out there, they are out there, and it's just a case of trying to capture people to try and get them into racing, really, because it's difficult, because I suppose as you're getting older, and do you want to have that bit of risk of racing and stuff like that? But it's getting that across, and there's a buzz in racing that you don't necessarily get when you're practicing. So there's a multitude of different things, really, and it's not just that. It's trying to look, because it is the AMCA is built on clubmen, and it's built on groups of people in clubs putting on events for other groups of people, and that's what it's about. And that's what the association formed in 1932 and has been grown upon, really. It's not owned by anyone. It's the clubs own the association. Over the years, great people have done great work with the AMCA and built it up, bought pieces of land. We own our own building, and it's made it is what it is today, and there's things, there's good things that come with being around for a long time, but there's also bad things, because your history can follow you in. Insurance is probably one of the biggest things in our sport, and everyone knows, it's you have a bad insurance claim, and that can follow you around, and that causes you problems with price increases and everything. But that's just part and parcel of an organisation, really, and that's what we deal with, weekly, yearly, daily, and that's how it is.
Okay, I'm going back not that many years ago now. The AMCA had a coverage area, club-wise, going sort of right down to the southwest, going right up into Yorkshire. But that area has shrunk quite dramatically, I think it's fair to say. Can you sort of pinpoint a reason for that, or do you think it's just because there's basically just too much choice these days, and the sports become so diluted?
Yeah, there is a lot of choice now, certainly. There's a number of reasons. I think people who run clubs or get involved in the sport and help, sometimes they drift away, and when you lose that, it can drift, and that's one of the main things we found, really. It's in our sport, there's people, and how they get on and all that kind of stuff, and it is difficult to keep stuff like that going. We're forever looking at things about how can we make this happen, and make that grow, and that's something as an AMCA and the board of directors are constantly looking at, and it's what we do. We've got a very strong area, and what we do want to grow. We want to try and move into other areas, and in them areas where we were once strong, we're not so strong now. It's about trying to find the right way, and we've got to see if we can find a way and make the AMCA grow again. The riders are out there, and I don't think there's any doubt in that. Yes, it's a lot more expensive nowadays. If you want to go and get a new bike, with the introduction of four strokes, it is very expensive. But there isn't just that way of getting into the sport. There's other ways. The second-hand bike market is very strong. People, if they're buying two strokes, they're a lot easier to run and maintain. and it's it's not always modern motocross. I think you look with, or certainly the classic scramble side is that's one that's grown and grown and grown really, and I think it's the with the Evo stuff that's gone again, that's gone crazy because people, they like riding the bikes that used to ride quite a few years ago, and it's that's it's interesting how the whole sport kind of it's like, it almost goes through cycles, and it's part of the sport grows, part of it shrinks, part of it grows, and it's never ongoing cycle really, and it's that diverse. It's interesting.
Okay, I mean, obviously these days people's social sort of habits have changed a little bit. Do you think that maybe the actual overall format of a day's club racing maybe needs to sort of maybe be looked at and changed a little bit? Because all a rider wants these days really, and naturally, it's as much time on the bike as possible. And I wondered if you could look at ways of maybe giving them more bike time. I mean, if you go to an event, a club event, and say you turn up, roll up at say 7:30 in the morning, and you don't leave it until 6:30 in the evening, and you might only get two races. Do you think you sort of need to maybe look at the format of the day and try and make it a more of a quick fire but more bike time sort of day, or not?
That's one of the many things we're forever asking the question on what they want, and it's not, there's not a straightforward answer on what do the riders want, because you've got riders who are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to riders who are 50, and what they want can be completely different. And it's certainly with the AMCA, it's the one thing we try and make sure we deliver on all the time. You get 3 races. Try and, if there's room in the day, you can double enter and stuff like that. And it's not just looking at that; it's looking at who do people want to ride with, looking at vets classes. Want to ride in the vets classes against their own age, similar age people, so they might take less risks than the younger riders do. And it's not just that. You look abroad at what other people do, and as you've been to Imbers and stuff in Belgium and Holland, sometimes they do it a lot different really, where there can be the ride. Sometimes they just make sure they have 2 races, but they have 25 classes in a day, and people ride more than one class. And it's stuff like that. Do we look at that? Have we looked at that? Would that work? Would this work? And it's an ongoing process, and it's something we look at with the directors, but also it's something not just there. It's discussed at group level, club level. I'm sure it's discussed on when the club runs the next meeting. They might want to freshen it up and do it a bit differently. The classics do it a little bit. They have, they can have quite a lot of classes, but then whereas motocross is probably built up on you've got races, 12, 15-minute races, or however that works. The classic guys, I'll do it on like a 4-lap race. That's generally just because of quite a few things really. Well, age, bikes, well, they last 15 minutes. Forgive me for saying that, the old folks, but there's just lots of different things to consider, and try and give everyone as much as what they want. But you've got to realise you can't give everyone what they want all the time. No. It's trying to strike that balance and make it so it entices people in, but also keeps people in as well.
Okay, yeah, because I was like sort of thinking more about like maybe the sort of heats and finals sort of format. Where I know, like you said, all right, the races would be shorter, the heats, but if you make it to the final, every time you make it to the final, you get a longer race. Plus, it means you haven't got to wait so far in between then for your chance to go out and race. So that's what I sort of thinking of. Really.
Definitely. And I think the classic guys do tend to run a little bit like that. What we find, the riders in the AMCA do like the grading system and the junior senior expert sort of riding against similar level ability. We have looked at stuff like that where knockout type thing, and anything to freshen it up. And it's people want to ride something that means something nowadays, don't they? They want to try and go after a championship. They want to be they want something at the end of the day. It's not it's okay, people like winning trophies and stuff, but I think they want something that means more to them, that they can push out and say, I've won X championship, and it makes them feel good, and that's what people, they just want to enjoy it, don't they? They want something to go for, and they want to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's obviously under association, but do you think if you were offering prize money rather than trophies, do you think that might entice a few more people through and into the entry list, or not? Do you think that would have no effect?
It may do, and again, it's something we've talked about, looked at, and talked about various things for also like championship, looking at that, but it is a difficult one to try and figure out which is the right way to go with it, because sometimes if you bring people going for cash prizes, it kind of creates more. It can cause problems later, from another side as well, really. But yeah, and also clubs have in the past they've not bothered with trophies, and they have given cash prizes or product, or it's again there's no set way of doing it. They can, if they want, offer cash prizes, and some do, and some that does work. What ultimately we like is as much as we can, we'd like people in clubs making a difference to running events and getting involved in the sport, and that's ultimately what we want to try and do.
Okay, am I correct in saying that there's still like a motocross committee, or is that not true?
Yeah, no, there is a motocross committee. We, due to COVID, obviously, we last met in March of this year. We generally have 2 meetings a year. One's in March and one's in October. And the motocross committee is formed up of basically every club is invited to come to a motocross committee. We write to the clubs asking them to put stuff, if they've got any agenda items, send it in. And clubs can come in, and then they vote on how they want their AMCA to run through the year, or for anything that could be anything, any discussion item, and they can come, have their say, and get involved and make a difference in the sport, and shape it how they want it shaped.
Okay, and you find that sort of works then, like that's like a link back to you, so you get feedback for what's going on and what people want, really.
Yeah, we as much as it's at the office, what you want to try and get as many people, speak to as many people as you can, get as many people involved as you can, and come up with a it's the more you can hear, and the more people you have links with and talk to, the better, really. It's about trying to all move together as one, and sometimes it's some people in different areas will want something different from another area, but it's about finding a common ground for everyone to try and move forward with, and make the association what they want it to be.
Okay. What circuits at the moment does the AMCA own? What's in their portfolio? How many circuits?
We've got Boriston, Shobden in the South Shropshire area, Bevercoats in the East Midlands area, Uphaven down the southwest, Nymphsfield in the Gloucestershire area, and I think that's all. I've covered them all. Obviously, I have a few lease circuits as well that we lease, which is Bromsgrove and Long Lane, and that's what's in the AMCA portfolio at the moment, and it's the AMCA's worked hard over way well. I think they were all bought before I joined the association, and they've worked. That's how it grew, and it grew quick, and it was invested in land for the club, so they could keep riding. I know when foot and mouth hit, the AMCA were very, very, very grateful for their own land, and they could continue to run events, and that that really helped the association when foot and mouth was here. That was a year before I came, but it was it did help the association back then.
Okay, just have a look at this comment here from Mr. Billy Barker. What's your sort of views on that one there?
Yeah, it's something we've been talking about last week or so, and it's an ongoing thing. Spoken to another club in the area, and they're just making some they're talking over Christmas basically, and then we'll pick it up again in the new year, and then move with that, and then see how that works. It's obviously Billy's from the Ollerton club, which is in the East Midlands, running the Bevercoats, you know, great track. You know, and it's it's quite nice to see that pop up. But it's that's where we are with it really. It's a case of seeing how it works, seeing what's best for everyone, and making it happen.
I mean, I guess you like look. You know, you've gone through the list of circuits that the AMCA own. I guess you like to see more events on those circuits, because it doesn't seem to me that they get used enough. I don't know. Is that a fair statement or not?
So some do. You know, we as part and parcel when you buy the land, and it can always be a risk with motocross. You know, it doesn't take much to rock the boat with anyone locally, and then, you know, as soon as they object, we always try and run probably maximum of 6 a year, which isn't a great deal, but it's part of it is not to, you know, we the AMCA own the circuits, but you don't want to upset anyone locally, but you know, want to try and make the best of what's there and try and run as many events there as you can. But one of the big things that they have always done is, you know, it's try and keep it to 6, not upset all the locals, and, you know, exist together, and that's how the land's been managed since we bought the first one, really. And that was, I think it was 1982, possibly around about then. So, you know, long may that one continue.
Okay, as an organisation, then you've got those circuits in your portfolio. Would you ever consider, especially like because of what's happening economically in the current climate, hire those circuits out to like sort of mountain bike clubs and model car racing clubs?
Yeah, we've explored the mountain bike route, and, you know, for anyone who's listening from mountain bikes and they want to look at it, by all means, give us a shout. And you know, it's not just that; it's like other kind of style of events that don't make necessarily the noise, and it's something we would definitely, you know, look at doing, and anything you can do to maximise the, you know, that as a resource would certainly help, because it's bringing that in isn't necessarily what we do. However, the money will come into the pot, and it will come into the pot for the association, to help the association and help the clubs, and keep everything going, really. And that's, any of that kind of come across, we'd be more than open to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, also, like, I've just seen a comment pop up here. Would you be happy for any club to use another club circuit, regardless of what group they're from, or do you try and keep it within the group?
No,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think I understand the question, but yeah, it's basically, and that does happen. You know, certainly one of the least tracks of Long Lane. It's used 4 times in the South Shropshire group, and then it's used twice by the Northern Area group. And the way that works, I mean, it doesn't matter so much now, but when the idea is you give different sets of riders chance to ride at the venue, and what you don't want, you know, if you're running somewhere 6 times, I think the rider will probably start to get a little bit bored, if maybe the word, of going to the same place. They like a bit of variety. So if, you know, try and give it to another group to run on, that works, and, you know, and it just brings in fresher riders to the place, just to try and keep everything interested in, and more people get to, you know, to ride there. Okay.
Moving on a little bit then from the club into the IMBA situation. Is the AMCA intending sending teams in 2021 if the series goes ahead, or not?
Everything's up in the air at the moment with the IMBA 20. I know that they have agreed a calendar, certainly, I think starting in the middle of the year, I think, and there's so many questions to answer on that, isn't there? I think with Brexit and stuff like that, on how that works and how we're going to get abroad and all that kind of stuff. But it's that the unfortunate thing for one of the MX, I think it's both MX1 and MX2 classes, they class with their main AMCA championship, and we made a policy decision a couple of years ago now, really, whereas people were actually, you know, they were screaming for dates for the main championship. They wanted them early. They wanted to plan what they were doing. They wanted to get holidays and sorted like that. And unfortunately, the one thing for us with the IMBA calendar, you know, and we've asked on many occasions, is they have a congress, which is basically where all the countries come in and they meet, talk about issues, and then they finalise a calendar. And what was causing the AMCA the problem was the calendar. That will be like second week in November, but then the calendar has a month then to be finalised. So you're looking probably second week in December, and people were just saying that was so late to then fix a championship calendar, and because then that would then impact on what a club calendar wants to do, because clubs as well, sometimes they have riders going to the championship and they can't run when the championship day's on, or they want to miss the championship. It was just causing everything to be pushed down the line too much. So it was a case of, unless the IMBA calendar can be set and move forward, that we were left pretty much with not much choice on that. So it's a case of, we want the championship dates out in September, October, which then allowed the clubs then to set their dates and then get a calendar fixed reasonably as early as we can to allow everyone planning and stuff like that going forward. And it's a shame, because I went to my I was IMBA team leader, as you know. We went to a few ones for the MX1 class in 2003, and it was brilliant. And it still is, and it's still great, and people have a great time. There is a buzz about going abroad and representing, not only the MCA but your country as well. And it's a shame. Hopefully it is going through a tough time, and we'll try and support it where we can, definitely. But it's, hopefully it can grow again, and it's, it might have to shrink first before it then grows and gets bigger again. But there's lots of things to talk about and try and improve that. But we've got to make sure as well that that the AMCA improves, and it allows the AMCA to go where the AMCA wants to go as well.
Okay. During your time as a team manager, I seen a little story pop up earlier on about about a lost passport.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened on that one then.
It was Burnsy, Paul Byrne. I forget the year. It must have been 2004, 2005 maybe. And we went out. I went out with Paul, and there was me. I think there was Stu Harper and Ross Holt, who mechanic for Paul. We all went out abroad, and I think we went to stay. It was a year we went to stay at Centre Parcs in Belgium, so we went out a little bit early. Went out there, spent a day there, chilling out, and I think it was at Holland at Venray, or it might have been a different track actually, but it was definitely in Holland. And went there, had the weekend, and Paul Road. And then we were heading back flat out on Sunday night, trying to get back to the ferry. And it's like, right guys, let's get all the passports together. And lo and behold, mine was missing. So we were like, okay, we're in a bit of trouble here. So we had a bit of a search for the van, top to bottom, couldn't find it, wasn't there. So at this point, I'm beginning to panic, thinking that they're not going to let me back in the country. And got to the border, and they were great, really, to be fair. We just explained what had happened, and they let me in, and they just said, just report it lost on the other side. That was that. Then literally probably about a year to the day later, I think it was Ross came over and went, look what we found in the van. It was my passport. So yeah, it was a worrying journey back, that one.
It's not quite as bad as another IMBA team manager who will remain nameless, but he picked up his wife's passport, got all the way to Dover, and then realised he had the wrong one. But,
yeah, bless God, he looks nothing like Pat either.
we'll move on from that one.
Yeah.
Right. Going on to the championship then. Dates for 2021. Can you sort of fill us in a little bit on? They seem to be rather like tight together, congested.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind that you've just said that we probably won't be sending riders to the IMBA.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the days when we were, you could understand it because it obviously had to fit around other things.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't really have to fit around other things. Is there a reason why it's tight together like that? Or
yeah, basically, it was purely the decision was due to COVID. Looking at how possibly we may come out of it next year, and how and stuff like that, and it's talking to the clubs and what we want. We want spectators to be at the events, and the events to be as normal as they possibly can. So looking at that, what we did, we looked at like the end of the year, and where we tend to run the last round in September. And the next year, I think dirt bike shows on the 19th and 20th of September. So I think the last round we've got is first week in September, and then built it backwards from there, really. So it's pretty much every other week. There might be a gap of 3 weeks, and then it then brought us back to the beginning of May, and that's as late as we could possibly start it, really. And the whole idea is to allow, hopefully, us to be exiting what we're in and having the best shot at running everyone keeps using the word normal, and I hate it, but a championship where we can have spectators then, and everyone gets to enjoy it.
I see. Okay. Could it have not ran then, say, using specific circuits into end of September, October? I'm thinking like more of the sand type circuits, to give it a bit more breathing space, or not?
Yeah, we that was one thing we did consider, but we historically, and we always do the presentation at the dirt bike show because the riders like being there in front of the sponsors and stuff like that, and that was one of the things where we thought, okay, we could run later, but then what would we do for presentation? And maybe we do something different for presentation anyway. But that was a bit of a sticking point, and it's we ran this year and we managed to get one in, and September was okay, and then we got into October, and that last round in October, I think pretty much everyone who turned up thought this isn't going to run. But it was brilliant. Yeah. And I was looking through my phone the other day, and I sent a photo to my dad, and he was like, "You're cancelling?" And I was like, "No." And you see the puddles on the side of the track, and as you're driving down the lane, you're thinking, but and that's the danger of running, I suppose, in October. But fair play to Wrekin on that day.
Yeah, it's a great job. Yeah,
they stuck with it. Everyone was pretty much telling them to cancel. They stuck with it. And it was a great day. Everyone had a great day, and it was really, really good.
Okay, out with the venues then for the championship, is it still a case of clubs having able to apply if they want to run a championship, and then you decide from there, or? Yeah,
basically the championship committee decided the venues, and what we did for this year, or ordinarily what we do, like in 2019, we ask clubs to apply their look through, and then they're picked under certain criteria, really. For 2021, what we did, we've gone with what the championship committee have gone with what they've picked already for 2020, because the championship committee felt, and quite rightly so, that it wouldn't be fair to drop a club from 2020 for 2021 if they haven't run around and haven't done anything wrong. So it was in the end it was a quite straightforward choice. It was like, right, we've had this thrown at us for 2020. Let's give everyone a chance who we thought, okay, that from 2019 this will work for 2020. Give them a chance, and they've got their chance, and we looked forward to all the venues and go to some new ones which will be different as well, and it will be an interesting series, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, I know it's good. Old Billy Barker again is mentioned about going to Bevercoats for a championship, which I've got to admit, every time I've been there, it's been superb. The first couple of times were amazing.
Yeah.
Is that a consideration maybe for 2022?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. It's got that wow factor. I think it's one of them places where you drive up the road to, and it's just like it stands out at you, and it's definitely got that wow factor, and it does stand out really, really. It's a great circuit, and given the right conditions, it can produce some great racing. It's a bit like Boriston with the ground. If it's right, it's perfect, and it's that it will be considered definitely for 2022 because again, it's an AMCA owned circuit. The club are very keen, and that's what you want, really. You want clubs keen and they want to do it, and that's part of the battle, really, and that's what you want to do it.
Yeah. Okay. In 2021, are you going to run the system again where riders can earn bonus points by attending club events like you did in 2019, or?
Yes, we are. Yeah, it's literally we're we're just finalising the criteria has been agreed. That is one of them again. So they've got to ride 3 events before the last round to accrue 300 points in total, so £100 points per club meeting. And part and parcel of that is just to try and get the riders at the club events. And sometimes the club guys don't see the top riders really, and they want to see them and they want to look at them and want to learn from them, and that's part and parcel of getting them out there and getting everyone involved and looking at them and watching it, and it's good.
Okay, will there be qualification required in 2020?
Yeah, we don't know that yet, and the way the AMCA's worked, and I think it's probably one of the best things. It's not, we don't operate it on a first come first serve. It's the riders have registrations that open to them until the end of February, and they have to register. And what we do then, we'll look at what we've got in February. If we have obviously we can take 40 per class. If we have over 40, then those people who have earned automatic qualification will get an automatic place. And then if we need to, we'll run qualifiers before the first round, hopefully, is what we always plan to do. And that's part and parcel why the AMCA Championships always started later, because you have this, you can end up with having to run a lot of qualifiers and try and, we run them over one event, but it's not as simple as just, sometimes a lot of them early events are really, really busy. And what you don't want to do is trying to put on another class which would then kick other people out of the event. So it's a bit of a juggling act with it, and it's I think the last couple of years when we've had to run qualifiers, we've ran them at the first round for whatever reason. And when was it 2019 where we ran probably some qualifiers at Norley, and what that does do though, it takes a little bit away. One, you need somewhere that can take all those riders. They have 2 races then, which isn't quite right for what we're doing, but sometimes you don't have a choice and you have to react to the situation as it was. And I think that year was when it was very wet and we just couldn't fit it in, and we went, okay, we have to do it there, and that's what we did.
Okay, is registration rolling in already for next year?
Yeah, they're good, to be honest with you. They're always good, and it's got quite a number of registrations already. They're rolling in really, really nice, and it's and again, they will continue to pick up until February. And the beauty is people have until the end of February. If they haven't registered yet, that's not it's not a problem. They need to spread the finances so they can do it a little bit later. That's real. You don't lose a spot. It's open until then, and then that's when they can register till.
Okay. I guess the national series will be taking place also. This new national series in 2021.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. It'll be something different, and it'll be something more for the club guys, because obviously with junior, senior classes as well as expert classes, the registrations were great for this year for that. Unfortunately, we just couldn't fit it in. So I would say probably 90% of those rolled it over again to next year, and we've got good uptake on that already. So that'll be a nice series, and it's caused a bit of confusion because obviously a lot of other series and championships call their championships and nationals, and we've got the championship and nationals, which are separate things. So I think until we actually get going with it and not everyone understands what it is, I think it might cause a little bit of confusion. But once you're up and away with it and with it, I think it'll soon get into people's heads what it is, and it'll be good. We're really looking forward to it.
So in that new national series, then I guess it's like there's going to be classes for MX1, MX2 in each group. That's how it's going to work.
Yeah, seniors and juniors, and and the idea with that is it gives juniors and seniors a chance to ride a national championship, and the way it will work is obviously with the level being the class that they've been in previous year and stuff like that. So if a senior comes in registered in a seniors championship and he starts in that championship, if he gets upgraded at club events to an expert, but he still stays in that senior championship until the end of the completion of the championship. So I think it'll be. We're looking forward to it. It's something new, and it's nice to give those juniors and seniors who don't necessarily get a chance to go and ride a national championship something to go at.
Okay, that's open to absolutely anybody, I guess, obviously other than championship riders.
Yeah, it is. At present, they've got to have had a license last year, and that's part and parcel of the criteria to make sure they're in the right class and stuff. But again, yeah, those registrations are coming in really, really well, and we have that many carryover. So in some classes, I think in the MX2 junior class, I think we're almost full. I think in that class, and it'll be good. It'll be nice to see it get out there. Nice 5-round series next year, and it's be nice to see it get off the ground and get running. And we're looking forward to it.
Well, I guess the intention is as well. Like obviously, you put lots of effort into an AMCA championship event. I guess you're going to try and put the same sort of amount of presentation and razzmatazz into this national series to make it an equally special event.
That's the idea,
correct?
yeah. And there's certain stuff there that we have at championships. Not everything, but certain stuff will be there, and it'll have its own different stuff, just to allow us to do something different. Because obviously we're a small team at the office, and we can't be out every week. But it'll have the time clock and all that kind of stuff there, and the idea is to make it a special championship event, and it'll and that's what we're looking forward to doing.
Okay. Is there the youth championship as well? Is that set to still go ahead in 2020?
We're looking at that. Obviously, we've still got the Youth 85 Championship within the main championship, and it's one of the things we've been waiting for and trying to look at what we're going to do with it. And it's not finalised or set yet, but we've just been waiting to get all the calendar finalised for the main basically AMCA motocross calendar. Really, we're still waiting for a few things to come in from that, and there might be a few tweaks. But once that's settled, then we can look at that and see what we can do with that, and see where possible it is to put that in. And that's one of the things we've got to look at in the new year, really. And it's we've just got to, there's so much stuff to be getting on with. It's good. It's good though. It's good.
Okay. Right. Also, two fantastic beach racing events take place every year. Weymouth, Skegness, both unique in their own sort of way.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Both sort of sorely missed this year by everybody. Weymouth, I know there's already a date for 2021. Skegness looking quite positive as well for 2021.
Yeah, we released the date when we're looking to do it. When we had to unfortunately put the cancellation out, and we left it as late as possible to call the Skegness one, because things were looking like they were going to get better and everything like that. And then we made the decision. We didn't have a lot of choice with it. There was, we just had to pull it. I think there was that much on the line with it that could have gone wrong. And as it turned out, as we headed towards that date, things got worse. So I think we were proved right with that one. I've got a meeting with the council in January next year, and they're very keen for it to have us back. And they're great events, and we're looking forward to them.
Okay. The one sort of, I expect you probably feel the same way, that the one disappointing thing in both events is that it doesn't seem to attract really their AMCA events, but it doesn't seem to attract enough AMCA license holders, members. I know both events are based in sort of extreme locations, if you want, compared to where a lot of people are based. Do you think that's the main reason why you don't get the support from the AMCA license holders?
I think it probably attracts different people for what we would run if we were running motocross. Really, I think with Weymouth every year it's around about a third who are license holders and 2/3 who aren't, and it's you get some top some top riders coming over, and then some of them can be like enduro guys or just fun guys, and we find the same in Skegness, and it's they generally just want to come for a fun day, and it's sometimes they can be enduro riders, and it's the split of the riders is so big, and it's sometimes as well you bump into people you haven't seen for a long time, and oh, how you doing, what you're doing, and I've been riding enduro, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, and it's but both events are completely, like as you say, they're unique, they're great events, and although as an office, I've been down to Weymouth a couple of times, and when we first started doing transponders and going down there, and then went a couple of years ago, and Skegness have been every year since we started it, and yeah, they're just great events. They're really, really good events.
Do you think, like, maybe looking at Skegness, if there was more or a special award for the top AMCA top and maybe first 3 riders in the main race with a nice juicy sort of cash award and a trophy, do you think that might entice more people, or don't you think that would make any difference really?
It could well do. I think Jamie would be happy for that, definitely. Because I think he'd be pretty much just shooing for that every year for Skegness. But yeah, it's something again we can consider. I think the Wainwrights love it. Jamie and Sean always do well there. We've had Luke Meredith doing well there in the past, and quite a few others. But it may bring a few of the probably better championship riders out again. Ryan Crowder, he's another one who loves it. But I think to ride Skegness, it's a different style of riding than it is to a main motocross race, and I think it can be completely different. And sometimes people come in who are really up there in motocross and don't necessarily do as well at the beach races, and I think it's almost a completely different sport, really.
Would you consider like doing sort of discounted sort of entries, like for
it's
to try and sort of dangle a carrot?
Yeah, it's something we've done in the past, and it's something we always consider, and that'll be things as we speak to the council and plan the event for when we launch it. And that is, one thing we've looked at and thought about doing is doing like almost doing a championship over both events, so to try and encourage the riders to do both. We do get a couple who do Weymouth and Skegness, pretty much opposite ends of the country, but you do that's one of the things we have considered.
There's a nice little comment there from Howard, who runs the Girls Championship. I mean, that I think is fantastic news, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Howard's done a brilliant job getting that off the ground and growing it, and he has done a fantastic job with it, and it's he's really, really growing it well. And we push it as much as we can, and Howard liaises with the clubs and runs it. And yeah, he has done a cracking job with that, and we've taken note. Obviously, the ACU are going to run their own series next year, but Howard's spoken to Howard, and he's we'll be running the BWMA, we'll be running the AMCA one again, and we'll continue the growth of that and make that as strong as it possibly can be.
Yeah. Okay. I know it's early days, very early days. How's the license numbers sort of beginning to shape up for 2020?
Yeah, at present, the license numbers, because what the AMCA board decided to do due to COVID was roll everything over to the 1st of May. So everyone who had a license last year has got their license till the 1st of May. So not only have we got last year's licenses, we've got new guys coming in as well. So the licenses are quite healthy really from that side. So it's going to be interesting to see when the season kicks off. See how I think the events will be quite well subscribed really. So I think it's going to be. I think that's probably best to enter as early as you can and make sure you get in. It'll be interesting to see when we come into May to see how that works for us and see the rider take up and see how they renew. Part and parcel of the reasons why we looked at doing that, and every year, it's what do you want from year to year? It's probably retention of riders, and it's about trying to put yourself in a rider's shoes, and it's if come to the end of the season, they've a good long guard season, and a lot of them they want a break, and it comes Christmas, and they have Christmas time with the family and friends, and maybe do other things or whatever, and you come around into February, and then as the motocross season starts coming along, it's like, oh, okay, I've got to go, I've got to get a license, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and before you start racing again, it's again. With that being May, that hurdle's taken away. So hopefully it will be the idea behind that is to try and get the riders, making it easier for them just to start racing again and get into it and get the bug.
Yeah, I guess, after what's happened this year, I don't know if you feel the same, that the sport could be on a bit of a sort of a knife edge where it could go one way or the other. People's had almost like a year off, if you most people have had almost a year off, and you think, are they going to, have they found other things to do? Are they going to come back, or is it going to have the opposite effect, and everybody's going to be really up for it and raring to go? It's a difficult one, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think you're spot on with what you said on that, really. I think it is. People will, undoubtedly, people go, they find other things, they do other things, and, they might inadvertently have started a family in the time that they've had off and stuff like that. But it's what we found when we came back, the numbers were very, very high. And, all you can try and do is look back after foot and mouth. There was a bit of a boom. So, hopefully, all being well, people won't have got rid of the bikes, will still have the bikes, and they'll want to get out and get riding again. And I think this whole thing that we've gone through, I think it probably has given people a lot of time to think about what they want to do, how they want to spend their time. Hopefully they'll think, I want to spend my time doing something Josh, enjoyable. I want to get out racing.
There's a nice little question for you to answer.
Yeah. He's obviously feeling fit and ready for next year by the look of it. He thinks he's going to be in one of those spots. Well, yeah, I've seen a few videos of him on the Honda. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Right. Obviously, going forward, then motorsport in general is evolving and is sort of marching towards the sort of electric era.
Yeah.
I know it's probably a few years away yet, but is that something that the AMCA have sort of started to sort of maybe think about?
We've discussed it, yeah, and again, it's something that's not new. It has been discussed in various guises and over various committees, and it's something that you have your eye on, and it's coming, and where people are working towards, manufacturers are working towards, and just look at the car industry and what they're planning to do, and a bit like Formula One, and the how they're looking to move to stuff like that, and it's going to be interesting to see how that one pans out in the future. We allow electric trials bikes now for the younger kids, and I think it will naturally progress that way, and it's just a case of just rolling with it and seeing the progression with it.
Okay, when do you personally, as an organisation, think that you're going to have to deal with it? How many years do you think we might be talking before?
It could be a couple of years. It could be sooner. It could be longer. Really, it's a tough one to see, and it may be first things first. It may be brought in, and it might be something where we go, okay, let's have a race for those bikes at an event, and a particular. And build it up that way, or can be completely different. There might be a big breakthrough with how they're made, how they're manufactured, and they put with what they're putting out compared to the normal boxes they are now, and it might just happen quickly, and it's just something that we're aware of it, and it's coming, and change is coming, and you've got to embrace change and move with it, and be ready for when it's here, really. And we'll just keep an eye on it, and we'll just move as and when it needs to.
Okay, going back one step, how about to the championship again? That question there from Terry Dukes.
It's but basically the format for the 2-day championship meetings it was one that was it was discussed at great lengths. It was looked at what other people do and whatnot, and what we've decided upon for 2021 is that on the Saturday they'll have the time qualification as they normally do, and then the 2 races. And we chose that because we just want to see first year of really doing anything 2 days, just to see how it will go. We've got to allow for track work to be done on the end after Saturday to get the track ready for Sunday, really. And then on the Sunday we'll have a 10-minute free session in the morning, not for times, and then 3 races on the Sunday. And the not interesting tweak we've come up with, each individual day will have their own individual overalls. However, the overall on day 1 will set your gate pick for day 2. And it's something new, and I think it's interesting. It'll be it'll be interesting to see how that works, because it'll be interesting to see how the riders play it, really, whether they're a little bit more conservative on the Saturday, because a bad race could leave you with a big bad pick on the Sunday and stuff like that, really. So it's going to be the 2 days are going to be interesting next year, just to see how they all pan out. And also as well, what we're doing over the over the 2 day meetings is, obviously, because the super class we haven't ran that this year, we're going to do we'll have a super class championship, but for each of the 5 classes, and that will be made up of purely the results from the 2 day meetings. So it's a bit like, with in the AMA, they do it's called a Triple Crown or something like that, where they pick 3 events and that made a championship or something like that. But that's what we do in the super class. So anyone, if they've had a bit of a rough round in the championship, they've still got the 3 2-day super class meetings to go out for a championship as well. So it's let's go. It'll be nice to see how that one works.
Okay, how did the sort of 2-day format come about then? How was that sort of evolved?
To be honest with you, it's been talked about for a good few years, and Simon Lane, who's on the championship committee, he's mentioned it for a long time, really. And the clamour for it became more, and we're a great believer in it. Unless you try something, you don't know how it's going to work. And we have historically been over 1 day, but by doing just the 3 2 days, just to see how it works. It might be that it doesn't work and it doesn't suit the AMCA and we revert back, or it might work and we go with it and think, yeah, okay, well, that's a nice balance. It's nice. We appreciate that it doesn't suit everyone, and not everyone can come on a Saturday and stuff like that, and that is taken into account. And that's why we've looked at it and thought, okay, let's do the 3 rounds. And the reasons why we tried to look at doing the 3 was to try and even it up, really, because we've got 1 down the south, 1 in the middle, and 1 in the north, and that's how we came about it. And it'll be we're looking forward to them, and it's going to be it'll be interesting to see how it does work. It worked really, really well.
Okay, Steve, right, we'll call that a close then. Many thanks for coming on tonight. Many thanks for coming on tonight.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Much appreciated. Maybe if it's convenient with you, we can have a catch up again just before maybe end of March, April next year.
That'd be a pleasure.
To update everybody on what's going on.
Yeah.
Hopefully by then we'll be moving forward out of this coronavirus thing.
Definitely, we hope so, definitely. But no, okay, thanks for asking, Mike. Yeah, good to speak to everyone.
Yes, that's been brilliant. Thanks, Steve. Happy Christmas to everyone at the AMCA.
Thank you very much, Mike. Cheers. See ya.
Thanks, yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, that's it. Many thanks for joining us, and look out for the next AMCA live interview. Good night from me.